This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
When you load 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt.
Welcome to Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton. Thanks for joining us today. Today we're actually speaking with Jim Doyle, Senior Financial Consultant with Investors Group Financial Services, Inc. Jim's words of wisdom have appeared in the Financial Times, the National Post, the Province, Business in Vancouver, as well as in the Vancouver Sun. Jim's also appeared on the City TV morning show and the Czech TV series Family Matters with Judge Harvey Brownstone, speaking on wills and estates as well as family finances and divorce. These are all his areas of expertise. Successful advisors are a little bit like great artists. They're creative, they're passionate, and they're demanding. They wouldn't have it any other way. But finding the right advisor for you, well, that takes an understanding of just what it is that they're offering and ultimately what you really need. Understanding what needs to be looked at and having the courage to have some of those tough conversations. So, Jim, how do you respond to that?
I think it might be a question of how the discussions are framed. I typically have three essential conversations with clients. The first one is the discovery conversation. The second one, the educational conversation. And the third one is the emotional conversation.
Well, I know we've spoken in the past on several other shows about the power of emotions, especially when it comes to money and families. Could you share a little bit with our listeners right now some of the strategies that you consider for handling these three conversations?
Well, sure. The discovery conversation is about building a foundation of trust, engaging in casual conversation to build rapport and get to know each other, uncovering or discovering those emotional anchors, both the good ones and the bad ones.
So it's just basically the initial conversation, just to start up that, building that relationship, learning as much as possible with open-ended questions. But I also presume that some people are a little bit reluctant to share all this personal information at first.
Oh, you're right. Okay, people need to be given the time they need. I think people can be embarrassed at not knowing the things that people presume that they should know. For the people I work with, I want to take the time to see what they comfortably know. It's about making informed choices. And here's where the second conversation, education, comes in. Giving people the tools to make great choices. Once people understand how and why choices make sense, then we can talk about how we might help them to achieve their needs.
So what do you actually do to make clients or prospects feel comfortable when working with you?
It's just human nature. But if you want to learn something about people, you have to share or tell them something about yourself. Sometimes it starts with stories, what other families have gone through and how I've helped them succeed. Many folks come to us and are somewhat embarrassed about this situation and don't know where to turn. And we want to make them feel better. We want to help them rediscover that sense of confidence.
Well, it's very comforting to hear. You have an uncommon number of professional credentials and experience, which to me shows a lot of commitment. But it also serves a purpose to help with the educational conversation, helping to put things into perspective and sticking to what's actually relevant.
Average investor we work with believes they need to know everything. And information, which is often readily available, there's just maybe too much of it. Where things become a little more difficult are filtering out that information in terms of what you can use so that we get away from the confusion and the poorly informed decisions to focus on what clients need to understand about their finances. One of the biggest challenges as I see it is that a lot of this information leads to conflicting points and perspectives as to which are the appropriate products and strategies.
It can be a little bit confusing at times too. So it sounds like it places a very high standard to help clients understand what value you bring to the table and that it's your job to help take care of their investments. It's a little bit of hand-holding, helping to take some of that burden off their shoulders.
Of all of the conversations, the third, emotional conversations, are probably the ones facing the most pitfalls. Few things can stimulate people emotionally more than their money and their family. We all tend to want people to see us in the best light, see how successful we are. They want to presume that we know the things that we need to know. understand how and why we make the money and investment decisions we do, not to be burdened by previous financial choices or the choices of others. But if the people who advise us don't know the full picture, we could be missing out.
So it's imperative that your clients be completely honest with you and very trusting as well. Basically, I can relate it to if when we step on the scale, that dreaded bathroom scale, we fib to ourselves, we lie to ourselves just a little bit. You know, if it says 70.5 kilos, they'd say, oh, I'm 70 kilos or whatever. So why should it be any different when we're actually dealing with our financial advisors, that we might sort of bend the truth a little bit?
Yeah, I see that a fair bit. My role on the emotional front is to help you on the right path by focusing on your long-term goals. I want to help instill patience when markets are down, to rein in emotions when markets are doing exceedingly well. And here's the key. My team and I need to connect with you emotionally. We can't do that if we don't understand your situation and show you how it is that we're looking after you, and that there's a process behind what we're doing to help you achieve what it is that you're trying to achieve.
Exactly. I do understand that the financial planning you've put in place to help clients reach their goals are essential, like helping them have an idea of what income they might need to see coming in so that they can meet their needs in the future. Today's needs might be easy to calculate, but the future, well, maybe not so easy.
Even the relatively affluent remain unprepared to fund such streams. And according to the latest BlackRock Pulse survey, Americans aged 55 to 64 with at least $250,000 in investable assets want to have an average $59,000 in annual retirement income. But the savings that they've accumulated, and I think this average number is about $567,000, might only generate about $37,800 a year in annual income. That leaves a shortfall of $21,800 a year. Ouch.
That's a huge ouch. It seems like a bit of an alarming retirement statistic. So, Jim, you just told us that they have enough to live comfortably for maybe 10 years. What are they going to do if they live another 20 years? With such a gap, I can see why clients should be speaking with their advisors about what they can do to address this reality.
But it all begins, of course, with working with an advisor who engages the client, compels focus, and helps set the necessary course.
And asks the right questions. I can't help, Jim, but feel a little bit anxious for some of our listeners that there's so much for the average investor to know, but I think that's where you come in to help. What would you like some of these conversations to consider?
I believe we could start with at least 3 elements worthy of exploring. Is your portfolio still aligned with the goals that are most important to you? What level of investment risk should you adopt to reach your financial goals? And what else can you do to keep on track towards a satisfying and secure retirement?
Well, I think these are 3 great points to bring awareness to, Jim. And I think that you make a really good point that investors should be aware of the answers to these questions. So basically, if you're listening and you're not sure whether you're on the right path or not financially, here's where I say give Jim a phone call, 604-682-5431. So, Jim, what are your thoughts on the year ahead this year, 2016?
Well, the way we started it, 2016 has certainly laid the groundwork for some interesting crosswinds in the year ahead. For those who define themselves as patient investors, do you throw out your investment picking tools? Do you throw them right out the window? Or do you become focused on following a well-written financial plan? I believe your investment selection should be guided by your goals and a plan to help you meet them.
So given all the demands on people's time and all of the options available to them for getting financial education, good information and advice, how do you inspire people, specifically both spouses, to come to your office with all of their financial documents and financial information in order?
Joanne, in the medical field, prescription without analysis is called malpractice. And I think the same applies in the financial side of things as well. Everything we talk about is gauged by a trust dial. Everything we say and do moves that needle on the trust dial one way or the other. And I believe people want to be heard and understood, and that they don't want to be sold to. Every client relationship is different, but each one requires the skill to ask great questions, to listen with empathy, and to hear what's most meaningful, important, and significant, and compelling to the client.
We're all motivated by something, life's emotional payoffs. So what I'm hearing is personal values, not goals, are the required starting point.
They're the foundation or bedrock for a sound financial plan. If you're driven by the why, it's likely you're more motivated to act. In short, it'll make any resulting financial plan have more meaning and move you to action more effectively than anything else. In essence, emotional power. Now, I'm no different than most people. We value people who can simplify our lives and save us time. Financial planning is no different. We want to manage the flow and help people so that they can make a good decision about hiring me to be part of their financial team.
So I know we've spoken in the past about your very unique approach to your business and your clients, and you're very passionate about this. What type of clients typically appreciate your personal approach?
I'd probably have to say it's busy people. Most of the successful people we work with understand the value of working with professionals, and they appreciate the tools or advice that we use to help them make great decisions. They find value in knowing we're following a process with a plan. And we succinctly want to be able to answer two questions, and they're simple ones. How much does it cost, and what do I get? And this creates the confidence to help them move forward.
You are listening to Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton. Today we're in studio with Jim Doyle, Senior Financial Consultant with Investors Group. And as we start a new year and it's time for a new you financially, I would like to encourage you to take that first step. And it's an easy step. Don't get rattled by a rough start to the new year if that's what you're experiencing. If uncertainty is creeping in and you can count yourself amongst those that are doubting your ability to actually make your savings last, maybe it's time you take that first step and call Jim. Here's his phone number, 604-682-5431. There's still a lot more to come with Jim Doyle on making budgets work for you and making your money last. It's all next on Boomer Life on CL 650.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.